Hi folks, last time I was on I showed you this, the real lamb's foot from CK Industries. Now, while I was in there I picked up another sort of many ways similar knife, just a bit different, and that was, put this the other way up, the Berger pocket knife. Now these apparently come in different blade shapes, and had I realised that I might have picked up more than one, but I didn't realise that till I got home. But this is effectively a sway back pocket knife. I suppose it's supposed to be something broadly similar to that, Taylor's Eyewitness, or from another Sheffield maker. I think it's actually called the Farmer's knife from A. Wright and Sons, something like that. But anyway, this is another one of these ones that you could dispute whether it was a lamb's foot or sheep's foot or a Warncliffe. I would probably call it either a Warncliffe or a like an Ettrick pruner or something like that. So this is quite a good sort of gardening shaped knife. Interestingly though, although this was I think this was about £6.50 or £6.95 or something. So it wasn't an expensive knife. It has a similar construction to the lamb's foot of last time, in that it's a completely enclosed plastic handle with inside there is a metal spring and nested metal, presumably steel liners. The blade is just stainless. The only other marking on the blade, and I just have to half fold it so you can see this, something that always irritates me, is that the blade is a stainless Italy. It's obviously made for a British speaking market, made by a German company in Italy, and Italy obviously has a tradition of making knives, but I suppose a bit like the Sheffield cutlers, you can get high-end Italian knives. This is sort of mid-range Italian knife, or a higher-end modern one. This is not in any way mid-range or high-end. This is budget stuff, but it's not Chinese. This was made in Italy, which I think is interesting. Blade is interesting though. It's ground on one side and completely flat on the other. Now you could call that chisel ground, or you could call it just lazy. The one thing though that it does do, unlike the real lamb's foot, which costs twice as much money, this one does at least come very sharp by the box. I've not sharpened any of these. I've not done anything funny with them. They're just as they came. This one does actually cut. It's also got quite a good shape. That sway back shape is always a good, garden pruning knife. Now that being said, I don't know if you can see that edge, but it's raggedy as hell. Even if I just give it a quick trouser strop, you can see it's all over the place. It's not just bits of paper stuck on there. There could be a bit of that, but it's just a bit all over the place. But it's very thin, and that's why it cuts. But as I say, you can see it's a chisel grind. What do I think of this knife? I think if this was my only pocket knife, I probably would feel slightly unarmed going into the garden. But it works, does a job, and it was cheap. So what's not to like? One could have, for the same money, got one of these if they happen to sell this particular one in my local shop, and I would be much happier to have walked out with one of these. This at least has a proper grind on it, and slightly thicker steel, but not so thick as to make it a poor cutter in terms of thickness. 1.65 millimeters. So this just looks to be a bit thinner. Oops. More closer to 1 millimeter. I get that a bit up towards the edge. 1.125 millimeters, something like that. It's a little bit. So it is a bit thinner. So yeah, I mean, if I could get one, I would have had one of these rather than one of these. But this does have certain advantages. You know, if you're just you know, if you're using this as a gardening knife or whatever, that one-piece plastic handle is pretty tough. You don't have to worry about getting stains on it or whatever. It's, you know, it's just, you can run that under the tap and wash it. Put a little drop of oil on the blade, and you have a very, very simple mechanism in there. Nice big brass pin for your pivot. So you know, it's not the best knife in the world, but there are worse things you could put in your pocket if you were going out to work in the garden. So anyway, if you like this stuff, please feel free to tick the thumbs up, like box, and subscribe. There's a couple more like this, and then we'll get back to some nice knives, I think. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. Bye.